network triple header. 25th ranked North Carolina taking on the Pittsburgh Panthers. It is the ACC home opener for Pitt. And welcome everybody, along with Chris Vitola. I'm Doug Sherman. So glad you're with us here today. These two teams both riding some winning streaks. North Carolina's won 4 in a row. Pitt has won 8 out of 9. But Chris, coming out of the holiday break, you really never know what you're going to get.
No, you don't. This one has big game vibes, though, to it. I mean, both teams playing their best basketball of the season. Carolina trying to get a league road dub. And how about Pitt trying to go 3-0 in conference play?
And if they can do that, maybe they start making some noise in the ACC. They start with Blake Hinson doing it all for the Panthers.
He's been one of the 5 best players in this league. How about the find out of the portal for Jeff Capel? He's a really tough matchup because he's 6'7", 235, but really versatile. Can shoot a 3. They'll put him on the block. He's an outstanding rebounder. What a year he's had. A good start to the year. And then Armando Bacot, obviously it starts with him if you're a Pitt. He consumes your scouting report. 54 points in their last 2 games. A big reason why they are playing their best basketball of the year.
Hinson and Bacot are the only 2 players in the ACC this year, Chris, averaging over 17.5 points per game and shooting 50% or better from the floor. Pete Nance wins the tip for the Tar Heels, and it's UNC with the basketball first and a very familiar starting lineup. 4 of the 5 from a year ago, the team that finished 2nd in the NCAA. And here is Leaky Black, the most experienced out of the bunch. Armando Bacot with his first offensive rebound, probably first of many here this afternoon.
Well, and we're going to see, what Federico's made of. A little bit light. His good games this year have been against lesser opponents. Teams with smaller front lines. He has not played anybody in his career like Armando Bacot.
Here is Blake Hinson over Nance for 3.
And that 3-point shooting, Doug, is the biggest change from who Pitt was last season to who they are this year. They're making over 9 threes a game.
Here's Caleb Love. Black saves it. Shot clock down to 15. Nance from the corner. He buries it. Well, this Pittsburgh lineup with a 9-4 record overall, having won 3 in a row, is so much different than what we've seen in recent years from Jeff Capel's club. They're old. They are good. They are skilled. They rebound. They're united. And they shoot the ball well. Nance with the block shot. Pittsburgh will keep with 15 seconds to shoot. This is a Pittsburgh team that leads the ACC in rebounds per game, over 40 per contest. And here is Federico, who has moved into the starting lineup in recent weeks. 5 to shoot. Hinson off the pull-up from 17, no. And Bacot with his first defensive rebound. Well, Chris, at this end, Pittsburgh defensively, what does it do against the 3-headed monster of Love, Davis, and Bacot? 3 of the top 10 scorers in the ACC.
They're going to double Bacot in the post when he catches it on the block. As Pete Nance off to a good start for him. Only took 4 shots in that game against Michigan. Been a really good compliment to those 3 guys you're talking about. I think with R.J. Davis and Caleb Love, it starts with keeping them out of the paint. They're going to want to force R.J. Davis to his left, much weaker going left, and Caleb Love back to his right.
Nellie Cummings, nice feed inside. Federico misfires. Black pushing it up. Here is Love from the corner. Jamarius Burton trying to use that size on Davis into the lane. Off to Greg Elliott, who was the first Panther on the floor pregame getting up shots. UNC 7, Pittsburgh 3. Nance has 5 of the 7 for Carolina, trying from out front. He's had an up and down year in terms of scoring. A big game against Portland, had the big shot a couple of games ago to force overtime. But like you said, last time out, he barely shot the ball. He's already got as many shots today as he did last time.
I don't envy the position. Another turnover by Pitt.
Davis off the shot fake. Great penetration.
You know, I envy the position of coming to North Carolina if you're Pete Nance, but I mean, this is the first winning team or potentially winning program that Pete Nance has been with. I mean, he had 3 losing seasons in his time at Northwestern. Comes into a team that played in a national championship game. And I think the best thing he's done, Doug, is he's a real compliment to 3 studs in that backcourt and of course, Bacot.
Carolina looking to add to its 7-0 run. Black given room to shoot if he so chooses. Instead, they go inside to Bacot, back out front to Black. 4 minutes gone. Love on the pull-up. Offensive rebound and 2 more points for Mr. Bacot. The senior from Richmond makes it 11-3 North Carolina over Pitt. Your preseason first-team All-American Armando Bacot, Chris, has really gotten it going lately for the Tar Heels.
Well, he's healthy. You know, it starts there. And then, you know, we were talking to Hubert Davis before the game about him. You know, look, obviously there's been an emphasis to get him the basketball. I think that only tells half the story. How he's working to get his stuff is the other half. He's running hard in transition. He's posting early. He's posting hard. You know, and even when he catches it, I mean, Michigan and Ohio State did not double team him, which I have no idea why, as Bacot makes an impact there.
Give it right back, though. Burton on the pull-up. Good answer for Pitt to come away with 2 points coming out of the break. That snaps an 11-0 Carolina run.
Bacot has risen to the challenge, and I think he's playing with a different mindset than he did to start the year.
Well, for Armando Bacot and the Tar Heels, of course, they were preseason #1 across the board and held that for a few weeks until they lost 4 in a row. And part of that coincided with Armando being a little banged up. Missed the Virginia Tech game, but since he's gotten back, and with the way the rest of the team is playing and with his effort, as you're talking about, it seems like they are getting closer to what was expected of them, Chris, coming into the year. And you know, whenever you do a North Carolina game, it's so much fun to look into the record books. And Armando Bacot has put together such a marvelous career. He has already passed this year on the all-time career rebounding list. Get these names: Brad Doherty, Mitch Kupchak, Anton Jamison, Bryce Johnson, Kennedy Meeks, Billy Cunningham, and George Lynch. He is up to #3 all-time. He needs now 32 to pass the big smooth Sam Perkins for #2. And then he will catch, if he stays healthy, Psycho T, Tyler Hansbrough, to become the all-time rebounding king in Carolina history. That should come by the end of January. And there's his second block shot of the day. Into the ball game is done. He misfires, and a rebounding foul. Federico trying to deal with Armando Bacot. Well, there's the second-year head coach Hubert Davis at his alma mater. Of course, led his team to the Final Four last year and to a national runner-up. And he talked about all summer, got to avoid the noise. Last year, the noise was different than it was this year. How do you feel like they avoided the noise through the non-conference?
Well, look, any national championship experience, win or lose, is going to have an impact on your offseason. You know, Pat Riley wrote a book about coming back off of a championship. And again, even if you lose, you've gone through that. It can make you soft. And I don't mean soft in body. I mean soft in mind. And I think in the last 2 games, you know, Carolina's playing more with their heads. They're playing a smarter version of basketball. I think there was a reset that needed to happen. I think it has happened. And we've seen the result in the last 2. But, you know, an offseason coming off a national championship is a challenge.
Jamarius Burton with back-to-back buckets. He draws Pittsburgh back to within 4. Yeah, Carolina coming off of a couple of eye-opening wins against Big Ten Conference opponents. Good to see DeMarco Dunn back in the lineup for the Tar Heels. And Puff Johnson also off the bench in his homecoming game. Makes the score 14-7.
I think Puff Johnson is an X factor for North Carolina. You know, he's a guy who came in to college, Doug. He won a state title in high school. A guy who came in with a reputation as a shooter out of high school. And he just hasn't really made shots. And I think he was getting healthy at the start of the year. But the one thing about really both these teams, but certainly with Carolina, they get younger off of their bench. And I think Puff Johnson's a guy off of that bench who's played a good amount of basketball and can give them a little bit of experience off of that bench.
Speaking of coming off the bench, Pittsburgh's first reserve every game is Nike Sabandi. He's in the game, and he's always shot ready. Fouled on his shot, and he'll head to the free throw line. And other than the Sacred Heart game where he was in the starting lineup, Jeff Capel is called on number 22 first, and what experience. I mean, over 1,600 career points. And able to bring instant offense. He's another big piece in this Pittsburgh run where he wasn't healthy last year, and now he's back to being himself this year. He was the Mid-American Conference Freshman of the Year in 2018. Spent 3 years at Miami, Ohio. And now with the Panthers out of Indianapolis.
Yeah, we were talking to Jeff Capel. Sabandi did not play well in their game against Syracuse, and he really couldn't play him in the second half. Just he wasn't all that effective. But they need him, like you said, for that experience. He gives them energy. You know, he gives them another perimeter defender. It's an old team, and they're particularly old on the perimeter.
Well, this is Sabandi's 6th year in college, which a few years ago would have been unheard of. Now it's fairly common. And for Pittsburgh, they've got a bunch of 23 and 24-year-olds. Davis, nice job to get open and knock down the three.
Well, they ran a double at Baycott when he caught it. It came from the strong side, though. And that's the easiest post pass out of a double, to just throw back out to the guy who fed it to you.
Leaky Black rips the rebound away. Heels with numbers. Davis with the easy two. It's 19-10 UNC.
And that's where Carolina offensively has taken another step, is in transition. And they've been really unselfish. They've looked ahead.
Sabandi from the corner working on Puff Johnson. Shot clock at 7. Around and out, everything but the bucket for Greg Elliott.
Here's that three on the other end, Doug, from R.J. Davis, who is shooting it better. Nike Sabandi comes down, doubles from the strong side, which kind of gives Armando Baycott that window back out to him. And then Davis does the rest. Nice shot fake into that. He's got 7 threes in their last 3 games.
And Davis sits down with his 7 points. He is now 14 shy of joining the 1,000-point club in North Carolina basketball history. To the left hand, how about Puff Johnson getting that on the rim? And you'll notice that the twin brothers, Jorge and Guillermo Diaz-Graham, are both on the floor. Chance for a 3-point play for Pittsburgh. Jamarius Burton.
When Jamarius Burton is good, Pitt typically plays well. He can really control the game for them, does a lot of damage in that mid-range. That one, a little bump, smooches off the glass.
Burton family moved from Champaign, Illinois to Charlotte, North Carolina when Jamarius was going into the 7th grade. His mom, Kimberly, played at Alabama A&M. She has coached and refereed all of her children coming up, and it has culminated from Wichita State to Texas Tech, now Pittsburgh, into a real junkyard dog, Chris, and a real valuable part of this team.
Yeah, I was joking with him. And I admire this. I say this affectionately. He's got kind of an old man game. You know, he's very good in the mid-range, really good use of his shot fake. He's been in double figures in every one of their games this year except their last one against Syracuse when he had 9. You know, he controlled their game against NC State. He ended up with 24 in the game, but he's a veteran presence for Jeff Capel, and a guy that, as you noted, has played a lot of basketball.
There you see Coach Capel putting together the roster, and so far the dividends this year have been very good. They've won 8 out of 9, 9-4 overall, and more importantly, they're 2-0 in ACC play. This is their home opener conference-wise. But for the Burton family, his dad Rosso, once they got to Charlotte from Champaign, Illinois, immediately he was met, Jamarius was, by better talent around him. And so he was greater challenged, and he realized, I got to get stronger. So his dad, when Jamarius was a 10th grader, got him a bench set. He worked out maniacally, got stronger, got better. And he was also pushed by his 2 older sisters who played college basketball as well. Kamara played at Fayetteville State. Destiny played at Payne College in Augusta, Georgia, and from the family stories, they beat the heck out of him pretty good. And he has benefited from that. His sister's very active, still involved with their younger brother's basketball career and supporting him. Here's Nellie Cummings, the grad transfer from Colgate. Sabandy probing. Pull it back out with under 10 to shoot. Cummings calls for a screen. Terrific screen and roll, and a great finish inside by Guillermo Diaz-Graham, the older and taller of the twins.
He does not play as much as his brother, but he's kind of their backup big as Pete Nance. Another three. Nance came in their last two games, was 0 for 8 from 3. I think he's still trying to find his legs when it comes to that three-point shot.
Well, he had the big shot against Ohio State to force overtime December 17th at the Garden. UNC went on to win that game by 5. Nance feeds the post into Baycott. Spins away from the would-be double team and lays it in on the reverse.
And when he catches it that deep, it's tough to double. And he's just so tough, because even you go back to the Michigan-Ohio State games, Doug, like Baycott, even when he catches it in the mid-post, he uses that extended dribble to get himself to the basket.
Nellie Cummings with another nice assist, this one to Greg Elliott. And even though Cummings has not scored yet today, he has been doing what he does. He's got nearly a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, setting up his teammates. Tough pass to handle for Baycott from Nance, and it goes out of bounds back to Pittsburgh. Here's our Wednesday college basketball doubleheader right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. Kyle Filipowski and number 17 Duke are in Raleigh to take on Terquavion Smith and NC State at 7 Eastern, and then it's off to the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill for Mr. Baycott and Mr. Love, who are watching this afternoon, and the 25th ranked Tar Heels hosting Tyree Appleby and Wake Forest. Should be a couple of great matchups with some of the conference's top teams. And Chris, how good has Tyree Appleby been, and is he a first-team all-conference guy for you at this point in the season?
He is for me. You know, I think in this game we're watching right now, we've got 2 of the 5 best players in the league in Baycott and Blake Hinson.
Woo. Caleb Love's first 2 were pretty.
And I would throw Tyree Appleby into that category. No question about it. I think Isaiah Wong's up there, Sean Padula.
Well, Steve Forbes in his 2 years at Wake Forest has done remarkably well in the transfer portal. A couple of NBA players last year, and now Appleby just playing great for the Demon Deacons first couple of months. 3-point bucket made by Greg Elliott, and again, he was out getting up those shots before anybody else this morning.
And he's on fire. I mean, almost 70% of his shots are threes. He's shooting 58% from there in their last 6 games. He is a specialist.
And I'll go a little farther than that. Last 4 games, he's better than 50% from beyond the arc. Caleb Love starting to heat up. The ACC's leading scorer on the year has his first 5 points, and the Carolina lead is back to 8.
Tell you what, he starts making shots, you can forget it, because he's passing the ball, and he is shooting it better. I mean, that's where he and Davis are starting to find more comfortable shots. I think when they were struggling in that 4-game losing streak, Doug, shot selection was the biggest problem, and the percentages reflected that.
There's some of that old man game we've been enjoying out of Blake Hinson as well. When you talk about the 2 guards for Carolina, Davis and Love, they still are only shooting, each of them, 42% from the floor as Davis, Baycott on the flush. But they've got to still be more efficient from the floor, right, Chris?
There's no question about it. They absolutely do. I mean, in the words of the incomparable Miracles, he's just a love machine. And he won't work for nobody but you. He's just a love machine, Doug Sherman. And then how about this rebound? A man's rebound. The Bear Claws. It's my ball. He's just a love machine.
St. Louis, Missouri came back for his junior year at Carolina, and Caleb has been playing very well this year, Chris.
He has, you know, and Hubert Davis, I think, said this best. Like, every team is different, even it has a lot of the same faces. And I was talking earlier about coming off a national championship experience. Even if you lose, about, you know, the mind getting a little soft, and you can sacrifice details, some discipline, kind of get out of character. And I think that's where R.J. Davis and Caleb Love kind of had to get back to who they are. But, you know, the three-point shooting percentages haven't been good, but they have hit some big ones. I mean, there is no more talented backcourt nationally than Carolina's. And when these guys are right, this team is as talented as anybody.
Shot clock at 3. Burton spins and banks it in. 9 points for the grad student from Charlotte.
It's that old man game. He gets himself into the paint. Very good at using that pivot foot to carve out his angle in space.
Only Marshall's Tavion Kinsley is also averaging 14.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and shooting better than 50% from the floor. Federico knocks that pass away to Elliott. Burton works into the lane, keeps the dribble, goes up, and gets the friendly roll here at the Pete. Double figures already for Jamarius Burton. Tyler Nickel getting extended minutes here in the first half for the Tar Heels. High post. Baycott going to work. A series of fakes, everything but the finish. And Federico is fouled. Well, I tell you what, we may be in the depths of winter with the students on break, but we've got an atmosphere here at the Pete today.
Well, they're excited. You know, their team's 2-0 in the conference, Doug Sherman, and, you know, it was a tough start for Federico. I think he needed to adjust to life playing against Armando Baycott. A little bit more energy in the minute he's been back on the floor from him.
And in talking with Pittsburgh assistant coach, great recovery by Leaky Black. 3-ball from the corner, no good. Talking to Tim O'Toole, Pittsburgh associate head coach, about their 3 bigs who are getting the bulk of the minutes these days. Of course, you've got the twin brothers, Jorge and Guillermo Diaz-Graham. He calls Federico the triplet, and they all get along well, beat the heck out of each other in practice. They have given them a lot this year. Traveling violation, give it back to Pitt. Panthers down 4, get the ball back.
When you talk to Jeff Capel and Coach O'Toole about Federico, they wish they had him over the summer. He had to finish up some classwork at Northern Oklahoma, the JUCO that he was coming from, so he wasn't here during the summer. And so he's really still kind of getting acclimated, but he's 6'11", 220 pounds. He plays vertically, and he's done a nice job on both ends for them.
No basket. Traveling, Blake Hinson. Carolina will get the ball back, facing their largest stretch without a bucket so far today.
And remember, Pitt's playing without John Hughley, who with his bulk and physicality would be an impact in this game, but he just, you know, is trying to get himself right.
And they've also been without William Jeffress for the season. A toe injury suffered back in September, had surgery earlier this month. They're not sure if he will come back at all this season. R.J. Davis travels. But you just have to feel good about what Coach Capel and his staff have done, assembling this team, and they're on a roll. They haven't had the strongest strength of schedule, so they're going to be tested in the coming days. The schedule gets really, really hard in the next couple of weeks. But will they sink? Will they swim? But they've set themselves up. They're in position to be in position, Chris. Cummings. To go along with his 4 assists, he's got his first field goal of the afternoon, and he's drawn Pitt within a pair.
They need him to score. He is wired to score. Had a big-time game against Syracuse before the break.
He grew up near the Pennsylvania-Ohio border, about 40 miles from here. And it's another Carolina turnover. Pittsburgh can take the lead.
Pitt's done a nice job collapsing on that roll by Baycott. Well, Carolina murdered Michigan in ball screens, and part of it is Hunter Dickinson is terrible in ball screens.
Cummings goes for the steal. Here come the Panthers with numbers. Elliott tries the Euro, and he was fouled by Davis. Well, there's no doubt this is a different Pittsburgh Panthers team this year. And the folks here at the Peterson Event Center appreciate it. Offensively against Syracuse and trying to check Joe Girard and Jesse Edwards. Defensively, here today they've gotten themselves back in the game against Carolina. By doing what?
Yeah, look, Armando Baycott consumes a scouting report. And I didn't think watching Ohio State and Michigan play against Baycott that he consumed their scouting report. They were soft on ball screens with him, and they did not play him in the post the way I think you need to. You know, the one area where Baycott's really hurt, I think, Pitt in this game is he's got 4 offensive rebounds. He's averaging over 4 offensive rebounds a game this season. He already has 4. So he's got 8 points, you know, half of those off of offensive boards. But I think Pitt's done a nice job on the ball screen, collapsing on that roll, because, you know, there were a number of dunks Baycott got against Michigan where he was wide open, rolling off of that high screen.
But Baycott here this afternoon has committed 4 of the Carolina 7 turnovers. This is Greg Elliott III, a grad transfer from Marquette at the line. He spent 4 years playing for Marquette. Actually was in Milwaukee for 5 years, but had a medical red shirt for a broken hand in 2018-2019. And he was primarily a reserve for Marquette in a starting role. And last 4 games, he's really picked it up. He's scoring for the season over 11 a game, and he ties the ball game at 30. Davis uses the screen from Baycott, working on Cummings. Love attacks. Good look from Dunn, and it rattles home to put the Heels back in front. Hinson under control, keeps the pivot. Now Burton has it poked away. Heels 3-on-2. Leaky Black to the rim, and he was fouled by Hinson. Oh, no, it's an offensive foul, or just out of bounds. There was no foul call.
Well, they missed the block. There's no doubt about it on this one. I mean, you can't be half pregnant, and Blake Hinson's half trying to take a charge, and there's certainly contact. I don't understand that.
So it is an offensive foul against Leaky Black, and you can see from Hubert Davis, he's feeling the same way we are over here. Burton finds the open man, Elliott. In they go to Baycott, and the double team with a foul call. Looked like Hinson may have gotten it from behind on the block cleanly, but he is called for the personal.
I mean, he's catching it with a foot in the paint. There's no question he gets fouled, and that's where, you know, again, emphasizing feeding Baycott is one thing. Baycott working to get his points is the other part of that, and he's working for much better position on the block. And when he catches it that deep, it's hard to bring help.
And when you know the help is coming, if you're Armando Baycott, you've got to be aware of not holding it too long, correct? You've got to get into your move fairly quickly.
Yeah. Well, that's where catching it deep, he can go right up. The other thing too, I mean, I was saying this earlier, like the number of times he caught it in the mid post against Michigan and then dribbled it 10 times, working his way to the basket. That's what you can't allow, because his body, he's just too strong and too good around the rim once he gets there.
Averaging over 10 rebounds per game for his career. And he is almost assuredly going to catch the great Billy Cunningham for career double-doubles. Good answer by Burton. He was fouled by Davis.
It's a nice job squeezing himself through that. Leaky Black coming over to plug a little bit late. And Burton turns the corner on the freshman, finds his way to the basket. What a first half for Jamarius Burton.
He's well on his way to a career high, which was 24 points earlier this month in the win at North Carolina State. They've been managing his knee a little bit. He's missed a couple of games because of inflammation. But he is 6 for 7 from the floor so far here this afternoon for those 13 points. There's another rebound for Baycott over Federico. Black directing traffic, trying to find Baycott, who comes out to set the screen. Leaky Black for three. First three for the grad student from Concord, North Carolina.
Well, and the defender went under the ball screen, which the scouting report probably tells them to do with Leaky Black in it, and he fires away.
Elliott heads to the baseline. Good help defense by Black, who gets out to try and contest the three and helps force an air ball. That's what Leaky Black does. Davis. Federico with a good box out of Black. Panthers back the other way, down by 6. Behind the back entry pass. Elliott kicks it back out. Just over a minute remaining in the first half. In this first of our ACC triple header during the holiday season. Glad you're with us from Pittsburgh. Cummings, tough pass. Found the cutter. How did he know Burton was going to be there?
It was an even better catch because it was in traffic and he bailed Nelly Cummings out. It wasn't a great decision by Cummings.
Davis fights for his miss, and Carolina will keep with 30 seconds remaining in the half.
Back to the Panthers, number 22, Nike Sabandi. Sabandi from Greg Elliott.
Nike Sabandi back out. Elliott will head to the end of the bench for Pittsburgh. And a time is called by Carolina. We'll take it with him and be back in 30 seconds. Trying to win for the 9th time in their last 10 games, are pushing the 25th ranked Tar Heels. With 30 seconds remaining before the intermission, the Panthers have shown resolve. They have fallen behind by 8-9 points a couple of times, but they just keep pushing back, Chris.
They have. Their defense has been better in the second part of this half than the first. And the turnovers from Carolina, 8 turnovers in the half, have really kind of given Pitt a jump start offensively, giving them some extra possessions.
Seth Trimble has come into the game for North Carolina. Baycott finds the cutter. Great catch, great finish off the nice pass. Leaky Black has 2 more. 10 seconds to go in the first half. Burton leads all scorers with 15, trying to add to it here. Cummings fires, but was it in time? It was not. The Tar Heels head to the locker room with a 6-point halftime lead in this first of our ACC Network triple header. Coming out of the Christmas break, you never know what you're going to get. Both teams playing well. We send it to the studio for our halftime report. Perhaps some future members of the Oakland Zoo here at the Pete. We head to the second half with 25th ranked North Carolina leading Pittsburgh by 6. Welcome back, everybody, along with 2-time Patriot League scoring champion Chris Spatola. I'm Doug Sherman. Now, Carolina has shot it better than Pitt. Yeah. They have dominated the glass, so why do we still have a 6-point ball game?
Yeah, and they made 6 threes. 5 different Carolina guys made threes in that half. The problem has been their turnovers. And for a Pitt team that hasn't shot it well, only 2 of 13 for 3, this kind of got Pitt going and allowed them to score at the rim. Pitt is actually beating Carolina in the paint, outscoring them 18-14, and a lot of them off of these transition layups created from the turnovers. So you feel like Carolina should be up a little bit more because, as you said, they've dominated the glass. Their second chance points have really facilitated their offense, and they made 6 threes. They take better care of the ball. They're in control of this game.
But if you're Pittsburgh, you got to figure, hey, we're a pretty good three-point shooting team. Right. We only made 2 in the first half. We make a few more like we're accustomed to, and this is going to be a ball game.
Oh, and Jamarius Burton had 15. So if you're Jeff Capel, somebody else has got to come and be a willing participant in this game. Blake Hinson only had 5 at the half. He's got to get it going. Nelly Cummings has to hit some shots. They're going to need other guys to score besides Burton.
Burton leads all scorers with those 15 points. For Carolina, Armando Bacot nearly has a double-double already. 10 points, 9 rebounds. And when he gets that 10th rebound, it will be the 57th double-double in his illustrious Tar Heels career. Federico picked up a couple of fouls. His role was limited in that first half. Burton turns the corner, draws the contact. Count the basket and 1.
And that's been the offense. And how many times in the first half did we see that? So good at using his body to draw contact and finish through the contact. And the bonus there, you pick up a foul on Armando Bacot. But Jamarius Burton keeps it going here.
6'4", 200 pounds out of Independence High School in Charlotte. This is his 3rd stop along the way. And that three-point play gives him 18. He's only 6 away from matching his career high. Davis and Love in the backcourt for Carolina. Caleb Love lost the handle. Leaky Black picks it up, gets it into Armando Bacot, immediately double teamed. Trying to repost, gets it again. And he was fouled. That's the game plan for North Carolina.
Love the repost. And it's so unselfish of Bacot. The double comes, he recognizes it, throws it out, and then you get the repost with deeper position. And that's where Federico, just too light in the trousers, as they used to say back in your day, Doug.
Hey, I'm not that much older than you. Although maybe I am.
Don't get defensive.
Talking to Coach Davis before the ball game, we asked about Armando Bacot's leadership and is he the guy? And Hubert said, not really. It's a shared leadership. They all do it in their own way, but Armando certainly has leaned more into it, and it seems like he's demanding the ball more in the post and working harder to get the ball. Is that fair?
It's very fair. He's, look, it's a two-way street. We'll come to you, but you got to be willing to work to get your position. We haven't seen it as much today, but he's running so hard in transition. It's one of the things where R.J. Davis is such a good defensive rebounder. When he's able to grab a board, they become that much faster in transition.
On the screen and roll, Federico, the flush. First 2 points for the sophomore from Finland. Pittsburgh led just briefly at 3-2. They came back to tie it at 30, but for the most part have been playing from behind here on their home floor this afternoon. Davis. Nelly Cummings clears the rebound. Backdoor pass, Burton. Kick it out. Cummings. Extra pass to the corner. Hinson. Long rebound, Elliott. He fires. And even though they didn't score out of that possession, Chris, they got a couple of really good shots.
And the ball moved. A couple extra passes.
Davis along the baseline. Bounce it for Bacot. Chance for 3 for the big fella.
It's a great find by two guys who played a lot of games together.
What a marvelous run he got on despite the ankle injury last NCAA tournament last spring. I mean, the double-doubles were just piling up. He tied the Admiral David Robinson's all-time single-season double-double record from way back in '85-86 for Navy. And Armando was the first with 6 double-doubles in the NCAA tournament ever. And again, he was playing on a bad foot or ankle the last couple of games.
Well, I asked him over the summer, why his rebounding numbers went up so dramatically, and it was actually the transfer of Dawson Garcia out of the program. There was more room for Bacot inside.
Davis finds Bacot to the left hand, and he can't quite get the roll. How has the change in philosophy from Roy Williams using 2 bigs to Hubert Davis using primarily just 1 either helped or hurt Bacot? Federico with 2 more.
Well, I think it's given him certainly more room to operate, and I think that's where Carolina historically has dominated teams on the glass. And I think that's where Hubert wants to be. The problem is you're not playing the same type of offense where you're running that secondary break and 2 guys on the interior. And so a lot of their rebounding numbers right now, Doug, are skewed because he has been so dominant.
Leaky Black with the steal. Yeah, Carolina's rebounding has not been anywhere near Coach Davis's want. Black, second time no. But they have been doing a better job on the glass in recent games, along with this 4-game winning streak. And Hubert Davis says he thinks the goal should be out-rebound our opponent by 15 every game. They've still got a long way to go to get there.
Well, and part of the reason the rebounding numbers have gone up is R.J. Davis, who's 3rd on their team in defensive rebounding. And that's where, again, you watch them against Ohio State, against Michigan. They're much better in transition. They're even better when Davis grabs the defensive board.
I would think you would chalk that up to being a New York guard.
I would a little bit of toughness. Not all guards rebound, Doug. It's not in the DNA.
But R.J. Davis, like yourself, grew up in the metropolitan New York City area. He's from Westchester County, Davis, and there's that toughness. Draws the contact, and he will shoot a pair of free throws. Out of Archbishop Stepinac High School, just outside of New York City. That is something. He is only 6 feet 175, but he's got a couple of games this year where he has gone into double figures, as you talk about, Chris, in rebounds. It's about the want.
It's interesting him going left there. When you look at some of the analytics in the last 4 games, he's 6 of 28 going to his left. And I think one of the things Pitt wanted to do off of that high ball screen in this game is to sort of, they call it weak it, so getting him going to his left hand. He's much stronger going right. And on that drive there, able to get fouled off of that left hand.
We talked about Bacot's coming out in last year's NCAA tournament run. R.J. Davis, kind of the same thing. 30 points against Baylor, 12 assists against Marquette. He was excellent. Burton clears out. Hinson takes his spot in between the rings, swings it left side to Burton, who is fouled by Caleb Love. Caleb's had a quiet afternoon so far, at least on the offensive end. What have you seen Pittsburgh doing against number 2 in Carolina Blue?
Well, I think again they've done a nice job with both of those guards. They've game planned, for both of those guards. They've done a nice job taking those 2 guys out of transition, getting back, corralling the ball. And they've limited the movement, the mobility off of the ball screen. And Caleb's not forcing anything. He's starting to allow things to come to him better than he was at the beginning of the year.
First media time out of the second half. We've got a good one. Tar Heels holding on to that 6-point lead. In Miami for the Capital One Orange Bowl tonight at 6 Eastern. And the Huddle crew will have a 2-hour pregame show followed by the Skycast view of the game, flying overhead for every single play. And after the game, stick around for the ACC Huddle's postgame show. They'll have a complete breakdown and reactions from coaches and players. Nobody covers the ACC like we do. And they're thinking football here in Pittsburgh because the Pitt Panthers play in the Sun Bowl after this one, and so the basketball fans who are in the Peterson Event Center are being encouraged to stay around and watch the game on the Jumbotron. They'll keep the concession stands open, and it's all day Pitt Panthers basketball first and then football second, Chris.
Got the Orange Bowl with Tennessee and Clemson, whose primary colors are, of course, orange. If you ask me, Doug, there's a lot of juice in that game.
But I have to point out they are the lesser oranges relative to Syracuse, of course. No reply?
No, I just don't want to get into comparing oranges, Doug. I mean, you know, whatever complexion of orange you associate with is fine by me.
You're afraid of offending a different shade of orange?
I don't want to offend any shades of orange out there, all right? These days, that'll get you right off the air.
North Carolina back into the top 25 this week after being #1 in the preseason. Then they got a little sideways, lost 4 in a row, but they have rebounded through the holiday season, having won 4 in a row. Hubert Davis talked to us before the game about the joy of getting a full 4.5 days off. And you just never know what you're going to get out of your team coming out of the break. But each of these guys had the ability to get home and enjoy some family time. And in terms of the way they are playing, Federico with the block shot. How would you say the Tar Heels have played so far today against Pittsburgh in the context of having the time off this week?
I think they've done exactly what Hubert Davis told us he wanted them to do as Burton finishes inside prior to the game. They've dominated the glass and they've run Pitt off the three-point line. They've done a nice job contesting shots.
And yet still they can't shake the Panthers, who draw back to within 4. Nance, he had 5 early points, nothing since. Cummings, catch and shoot. It's an air ball that Love allows to go out of bounds untouched. Cummings has not gotten going, averaging over 11 points per game, has only 2 this afternoon.
You know, it was a slow start for Nelly Cummings coming into the year. You know, his first 4 games were not great. I thought he kind of broke out in their Vanderbilt game, which was a loss. You know, but Jeff Capel kind of intimating a lot of pressure on a guy going back home. He was a Pitt fan, as you mentioned earlier, growing up. Needed a little bit of time to settle in.
R.J. Davis snaps an 0 for 6 Carolina run. Baycott says that basketball is mine, and then Cummings reaches in and commits the foul. And I think as much as anything, that's Nelly Cummings saying, we're not going away.
I like it.
Did you ever go nose to chest with anybody?
Of course I did, because a fight is never going to ensue. And then I kind of looked around to make sure teammates were coming in.
Absolutely. Hold me back. Well, you're talking about Nelly. He's out of Lincoln Park Charter in Midland, Pennsylvania, about 40 minutes from here. And he used to come and play pickup ball and play other styles of basketball here in the Pete coming up. Good looking move by DeMarco Dunn, the sophomore from Tucson, Arizona, just back into the lineup for Carolina. But there can be pressure, and this is Cummings' 3rd stop. You know, he played his freshman year at Bowling Green, then had a great career, got his degree from Colgate, and the opportunity to come back home. He is a different thing. Federico couldn't handle the pass. Pitt gives it back to Carolina.
Well, the thing with Cummings, he's won. You know, he's played in the NCAA tournament. He had a very good game for Colgate against Wisconsin last year. You know, so it's a guy who has been on that stage. And he's out of the Patriot League.
It's a great league. Oh, it's a great league. Black Knights of the Hudson, baby. My partner, of course, one of the great players in Army basketball history. Nelly Cummings just turned 24 on December 23rd. Elliott's going to turn 24 next month. And this old group of Pitt Panthers just keeps hanging around.
And it's all to Burton's right hand. I mean, you've got to, especially in the early thrust, you've got to try to get him to his left. Because all of these finishes are going right. And he's just strong. You could see the body. 200 pounds, 6'4". Nice touch off that glass.
And I haven't looked on Twitter today, but I'm guessing his older sister, Camara, has tweeted several times. She's very active during Pittsburgh games. As I talked about in the first half, it's a family affair for the Burtons, and her kid brother leads all scorers with 22. Good defense by Pittsburgh, being disruptive. Baycott shaping up, takes a nice feed from Nance for the layup.
A very nice pass, but playing in the post is about where you catch it and the angle you have. And Baycott had spades on both of those.
Contact after the shot. Nance picks up the foul that will send Hinson to the line.
North Carolina foul goes on 32, Pete Nance. That's his second personal, team number 6.
Second foul on Nance, and the 6th already here in the second half on North Carolina.
And for those who don't play spades, you want high spades, Doug.
Okay.
And
educate me, Chris.
He had like a king and a queen right there.
Okay.
2 feet in the paint, right in front of that rim, good angle, and then a very nice pass, high-low from Nance.
There you see his 57th career double-double. He's going to catch the Kangaroo Kid, Billy Cunningham, on the all-time Carolina list. Again, as we talked about in the first half, it is remarkable when you go to a place like Carolina. If you stay there 4 years and you're a 4-year starter for the most part, as Mondo has been, you're going to leave Chapel Hill and your name is amongst the elite of college basketball.
You know, there's a similarity, and you mentioned Tyler Hansbrough earlier. In my 5 years at Duke, there was nobody who consumed a scouting report we did more than Tyler Hansbrough. You know, preparing to play against him was as tough as any player in my time there. Baycott's similar. You know, you have to figure out what you're going to do with him on the block, how you're going to keep him off the glass, what you're going to do in ball screens.
There Baycott sets the screen. Davis tries to get it back to him. Sabandi does a nice job to make sure it doesn't happen. In they go to Baycott. And on the post entry, the foul is called on Guillermo Diaz-Grant.
And the other thing he does is he gets your team in foul trouble. He's drawing almost 7 fouls per 40 minutes. Just a tough matchup.
Game for Puff Johnson, who grew up about 20 minutes from here in Moon Township, Pennsylvania. And it's a family affair. His dad, Gilbert, played next door at Fitzgerald Fieldhouse for a couple of years for the Panthers. And, of course, his older brother, Cam, got his undergraduate degree at Pitt in 3 years before transferring to Carolina, playing a couple of years for the Tar Heels, now with the Phoenix Suns. And Dad is among the 20 or so family and friends here inside the Peterson Event Center, and they've not seen their favorite Tar Heel play much. Got 3 fouls in 2.5 minutes in the first half, and we've not seen Puff come back out. But it's a tremendous family, and apparently Gilbert, every Christmas, videotape the holidays. They've got great video of the 4 boys. Baycott throws it down. But the story's been told many, many times why Puff got his name. Actually, he had 3 nicknames as a kid from his parents: Waffles, Moose, and Puff. And apparently Mom, Amy, who was a great player at Kent State back in the day, who's not here, she didn't make the trip into the game. She gave him that nickname because of his love of Cocoa Puffs, but apparently Mom wishes she hadn't done that and wishes that one hadn't stuck, because she still prefers his given name, which is Donovan.
Donovan Christopher Johnson. Take exception to the Cocoa Puffs. Fruity Pebbles were by far the best childhood cereal.
So can I call you Fruity?
Of course you can. Wouldn't be the first time.
Well, you read the story about the Johnson family. It's been all about basketball, and it really has been neat. The oldest of the boys played at Clarion University, the youngest still in high school. But, you know, Mom might have been the best of the bunch. I mean, she's got a son in the NBA, but she was more than a 1,000-point scorer at Kent State University and played professionally in the precursor to the WNBA. Blake Hinson. You said during the break to me, Chris, kind of at a tipping point here for Pitt. They need more from Hinson like that.
Well, they need more from other guys than Jamarius Burton. They need other guys to participate in this game if they want to, they have any shot at winning.
Caleb Love has had a quiet afternoon so far. The ACC's leading scorer still stuck on 4 points. The spin by Jamarius Burton, and that matches his career high with 24 points. Bacot skip pass. Black drives on Elliott. Met by Federico. Burton tried to spin, didn't know Black was behind him. Just past the midpoint of the second half, the Panthers hanging with the 25th ranked Tar Heels. Bacot has it knocked out of bounds. Looked like Burton was the one who poked it away.
I think Hubert Davis wanted a foul, but a nice job by Burton coming down because Bacot had Hinson. Hinson ended up on Bacot. Bacot going right to work. Nice job by Burton coming down at the last second. Forced that one out of bounds.
10 on the shot clock. Lob comes into Nance. He pulls the trigger. That's a long two.
Yeah, that's a big shot. You know, when you go that high-low, you force teams to have to guard you. And Nance a little bit hesitant.
He's now the third Tar Heel into double figures today. Off the pull-up. Too strong for Elliott.
That's not Elliott's game. He's not nearly as good off of the dribble. He is a catch-and-shoot guy.
Nance to the corner. Black turns down the three. Back outside Davis. Traveling. Every Sunday afternoon we have women's basketball right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. New Year's Day the games begin at noon Eastern, but next week we are featuring these two games. Louisville hosting Pittsburgh at 2 Eastern, and then it's the matchup of the day between number 5 Notre Dame and number 13 North Carolina. Sunday afternoons are for women's basketball on ACC Network. Coming off of a wild Thursday in women's basketball in the ACC. Duke upset North Carolina State yesterday. Florida State upset Carolina. Both those teams now 2-0 to start the conference season. Federico couldn't finish. Everything but the bucket for Pittsburgh.
You know, it was a 4-point game. Pitt had a turnover, an air ball by Elliott, and then 2 missed point-blank layups. And now at 6, I mean, they've had their chances, Doug, to at least tie this game.
Five on the shot clock as Love puts it up. Tap out. Sabandi has it for Pitt. Sabandi into the paint. Got the defender up. Terrific looking shot by number 22, Nike Sabandi. Black. No, the Pittsburgh defense holds once again. Sabandi finds Cummings. Good! It's a 1-point ball game.
And how about what Nike Sabandi's brought over the last couple minutes? He would not be denied on that drive. Good shot fake here, showing ball coming up, good finish. And it gets himself in the paint again. Nice little dime out to the perimeter. Nelly Cummings, it's hot in here.
After this last play, Nike Sabandi, who made that pass out, had something to say and got teed up for it. We're not sure what was said, of course, but it's at a critical juncture of this game.
Kind of soft, technical. I mean, in the words of Cuba Gooding Jr. and Jerry Maguire, I think we're finally talking. You finally got a game here. A little bit soft, but you close it to 1. It's not a good technical foul, to say the least.
And so you send the ACC's most proficient free throw shooter to the line, and R.J. Davis, of course, misses the first.
Back on the Panthers, number 3.
And with that, Jason Capel, the younger brother and assistant coach of Pitt head coach Jeff Capel, gave the officials an earful. There's the former, well, he was hiding behind Pete Nance. Jason, former Tar Heel. I always got to figure when Pittsburgh plays Carolina, it's got to be a little weird for him, right?
I would think, although with his brother sitting a few seats down as the head coach, can't be all that weird.
Pittsburgh trying to get the stop, and they do. The rebound goes out of bounds. Last to touch was Nance. And Pittsburgh, Chris, only 4 of 21 from distance, and yet still with a chance here to tie or take the lead.
It's a team that makes over 9 threes a game. And it also, if you're Carolina, you've got to stay diligent because they can pop and get a few to go here.
A little stagnant on this possession. Cummings into the lane, rises up. We're tied at 58. Baycott. That is now his 16th career 20 and 10 double-double.
It's unbelievable. He is so good when he puts it on the floor. I mean, you have got to figure out a way. You got to get him before he puts it on the ground.
Tough shot by Cummings.
It's not a good shot.
With Davis right in his face.
It's not a good shot. You could shoot it early if it's a catch and shoot open shot. That was too early. And a guy tried and felt like he had a little bit of heat after making the last one.
Davis left his feet. Nicely done by Federico, but one of those big shoes was on the baseline. And so Carolina catches a break with 5:39 remaining in regulation. Elliott out of the game after Burton got a quick rest. He's back on the floor with his career high 24 points. Nance puts it on the deck, and he was fouled.
It's been steady diet at that high-low with Pete Nance at the top. And Baycott trying to carve his space. And a nice job by Nance. Hit a face-up shot a few minutes ago, and there just puts it on the floor with his left hand to get himself to the foul line.
Pete Nance got his undergraduate degree in radio, television, and film from Northwestern. And then using his grad transfer year in Chapel Hill. Misses a big first free throw. He was a 1,000-point scorer for Chris Collins. Pittsburgh with 4 of its starters on the floor with Nike Sabandi. Pittsburgh has not led since 3-2 for the lead.
Pitt's had such success driving the ball to that ACC logo in finishing, getting it into the paint. 2 threes on the last 2 possessions. Not great shots.
Love into Federico, lost it. Carolina will keep. That'll allow Leaky Black to come back into the game and take the spot of Nance. Well, you can tell the replay was just shown on the Jumbotron over top. And the Pittsburgh fans not so sure the officials got it right. 5 to shoot. Davis has it poked away by Cummings. And Nelly Cummings ties it at 60. Well, the strength of schedule so far for Pittsburgh has not been great. This was the opportunity as Black drives and was fouled by Hinson. This, Chris, is a big opportunity for Pittsburgh to establish itself as a viable contender in the ACC, looking to go to 3-0 for the first time in conference play since 2015-16.
Well, it's one of the things about all the transfers that Jeff Capel got and being old, as what's happened in the past doesn't matter. You know, these guys, they don't care. Like, they're about this season. And I think Coach Capel has approached it that way. And they've certainly played that way in the early part of this season.
A pair of big free throws from Leaky Black. And now Seth Trimble, a freshman from Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, into the game. Tough shot by Jamarius Burton, and he will head to the line with a chance to give Pittsburgh the lead.
Well, Nelly Cummings first tied the game with a turnover and a layup in the open floor. Good pair of hands to poke that one away from R.J. Davis. And then Jamarius Burton. My goodness, what a day he's had. He has owned that paint, that mid-range. Nice shot fake. Chance to take the lead points. He is 12 of 14. And you're going to see a theme in this pack. Going to his right hand, taking contact, living in that blue painted area. He's been a menace for Carolina once he's gotten to that spot. And, you know, some other guys have gotten involved here, Doug. Blake Hinson, Nelly Cummings having better second halves. But Jamarius Burton carried that offense in the first half. What a day for him.
He had his 24 points earlier this month against North Carolina State in the win over the Wolfpack. He has done two better. And I tell you what, both these sides have played a clean second half. We had a flurry of turnovers in the first half, especially by Carolina. But in the second half, the Heels have only coughed it up twice. Pitt has only coughed it up 4 times. For the lead. Jamarius Burton gives Pittsburgh its first lead since 3-2.
And give Pitt credit. There have been a couple breaking points in this game. They have continued to fight and now have the lead.
Bacot spins through the double team. Federico blocked it. Hinson gives it back to Cummings. Attacks, finds the open man in the corner. Burton thought about it, now looking to go to work. Burton off the window. Give him 2 more.
A younger player would have shot that 3. Jamarius Burton, the veteran, says, I have dominated the paint. Let me work my way in there.
Foul outside against Pittsburgh. Boy, Jamarius Burton is putting on a show.
He sure is. And it was a really good find over the top. And we pick it up late in that play, but he had an open 3 on the skip pass. He allowed the closeout to happen and then just drove and got to his spot.
And that was off of the block shot by Federico at the other end as he stood his ground against Armando Bacot. And Jamarius Burton really is the only holdover from last year's rotational group for Pitt. How is he better and different this year, Chris?
He has better players around him and more shooting around him. And he's a year older.
Under 3 to play. Jamarius Burton just keeps pouring it on. Pittsburgh up 3 one more time.
And that went to his left hand. They were shading his right. He crossed it back to that left.
Black feeds Bacot the double team, and he got a hand to the face. Foul against Pittsburgh. inadvertently.
Panther foul goes on 2. Blake Hinson. His third.
Third foul on Blake Hinson, and the 10th team foul here in the half against Pittsburgh. So 2 free throws coming up. Now Leaky Black seems to be standing at the free throw line, but it should be Armando Bacot. And not that Leaky is a good free throw shooter. He's only 58%.
Right. You know, it's interesting. Hubert Davis going with DeMarco Dunn in this spot. No Pete Nance on the floor. Trying to match up with this Pitt lineup.
Bacot's only a 65% free throw shooter. Hinson and Cummings both have 3 fouls. For Carolina, Davis and Puff Johnson have 3. Bacot gets the 2nd. Federico sets the screen. Hinson for 3. Armando Bacot. Somebody got a piece on the way up, and now a whistle comes.
That's his 4th personal.
4th foul on Blake Hinson. Jeff Capel not happy.
Well, it's a really good help there by Burton. He's the one who comes over. You know, he's physical in there, but again, I mean, if both guys going after the rebound, it's a tough call. The bigger part of that is it's the 4th on Hinson. Big make there. I'll tell you what, missed free throws too been a bit of a storyline in the second half of Carolina.
And the fact that they haven't made a bucket in over 4 minutes now. Pittsburgh has the 25th ranked team in the country on the ropes. 2 huge free throws.
Huge.
For the young man out of Cox Mill High School in North Carolina. We were tied at 58, tied at 60, tied at 62, tied one more time at 67 with under 2 to play. Cummings. Davis knocked it away and out of bounds. Pittsburgh will keep with 13 on the shot clock, and Coach Capel calls timeout.
He wanted a foul too.
We'll take a break with 1:40 to go. A good one here at the Pete.
The Venture X card.
Pittsburgh and North Carolina, and Chris, there have been multiple times during this game where it felt like Carolina might pull away. They got the lead to 9, but Pittsburgh has never gone away.
Yeah. Well, they're 4 of 24 from 3. The reason it's tied is they have dominated Carolina in the paint, outscoring them 40-24, largely on the backs of Jamarius Burton penetration.
Burton's the only Panther in double figures with those 31 points. Again, 4 of 24 from three-point land, and yet they are tied with North Carolina. 7 to shoot. They get it to Hinson. He's got to fire and connect. A tough turnaround 3 gives Pittsburgh the lead once again.
And he used that 6'7" frame to just shoot over the freshman. What a big shot.
Timeout, Carolina. The Pete is alive and rocking here this afternoon.
More truck owners are switching to Ram, which means more people with holiday spirit are switching to Ram. And more people with not so much. More people who love the cold. And more people who don't. More good neighbors. And more people covered in tree sap are switching to Ram.
Get $3,500 total bonus cash plus no monthly payments for 90 days on select 2022 Ram 1500 models in dealer stock.
Blake Hinson has been Pitt's best player all season long. A little quiet in this game for his standard, but a nice little shot there over the top. About 3 inches he has on DeMarco Dunn. And a good rise up over the top by the transfer from Iowa State.
Can Pittsburgh pull the upset and move to 3-0 in conference play? They won at North Carolina State, won at Syracuse last time out. Love has not scored in the second half. And he dribbled out of bounds. A huge Carolina turnover gives it back to Pitt.
No, it's interesting, still no Pete Nance. And you wonder if Nance was on Hinson on that last possession, if Nance's size would have affected that shot.
No, he has spent time with the trainer throughout this game, and right now he's standing at the end of the bench. I'm guessing something's going on with Pete Nance, why he's not in the ball game.
So you still have Dunn on Hinson. And how about this matchup top of the key? Leaky Black, Jamarius Burton.
Jamarius Burton having the scoring day of his life against an excellent defender in Black. Burton loses the defender but missed the shot. And a foul on the rebound.
And again, it's the Burton penetration. He refuses a screen, goes to that strong right hand, which he's gone to about 90% of the time today. And there is Hinson once again. Just kind of befits that blue-collar personality he has had. Jeff Capel was telling us about Doug. Just a workhorse for this program, this team, this season.
The 6'7" junior from Deltona, Florida, makes a huge free throw to make it a 2-possession game. He knocks them both down. Davis trying to make a play, and he earns a trip to the free throw line.
And a good decision. There's plenty of time. You don't need to panic if you're Carolina. Good decision to drive it here. Federico tries to stay vertical.
This will be 2 shots for R.J. Davis.
And so Carolina sends R.J. Davis and his 89% free throw shooting on the year. You see he's 5 for 6 today. But that first number tops in the conference. And he is now 6 points shy of 1,000 for his career. More importantly, trying to make it a 3-point game once again. Elliott returns. Federico goes out for Pittsburgh.
Got to be a receiver if you're Pitt. You got to catch it strong.
Cummings gets it in, and the foul given against Blake Hinson.
You know, it's interesting. Carolina, the Michigan game, showed a lot of different man-to-man looks. They pressed a little bit. Carolina's pressure changed the Ohio State game. It changed the Virginia Tech game, or at least tried to. They certainly closed the gap in that game. We haven't seen as much today of that pressure and changing of defense from Carolina, especially against a Pitt team that doesn't really have a point guard. Like Jamarius Burton has run the point. It's not really what he does.
And so Blake Hinson, where he just made a pair of free throws, hits the front end and will shoot the bonus.
Hinson, a guy who didn't play in a game for 2 years. Practiced at Iowa State, did not play in a game Jeff Capel saying he's got a real appreciation for the situation he's in now.
74-69. Shot clock off. Davis pulls around and out, and a huge rebound by Hinson. Pitt playing keep away, and here comes Federico. Sabandi lays it in. Pittsburgh's going to upset number 25, North Carolina. Three-pointer keeps it alive. Back to a 4-point game. 5.3 seconds still on the clock.
You know, you obviously needed the three there. It banked in. I didn't think you needed the three on the last shot from R.J. Davis. I didn't. I thought he could have driven the ball again, try to extend this game. But how about the Pitt Panthers? You know, it seemed like they were down and out a couple times in this half, but they kept within striking distance. And they followed the lead of Jamarius Burton. And then Nelly Cummings and Blake Hinson started to hit some shots at the end of this second half, which kind of gave Pitt some life. What fight.
And they have kept Carolina from scoring the basketball. Their defense has, again, as we have seen all year long, stood up. And this was a big test, obviously, coming in for Pitt. Their strength of schedule before this one, only 183 in the country. So again, have they been tested? How good is this 9-4 team? Well, got a pretty good answer that they might be a legitimate factor in the ACC for the first time in a long time this year.
Well, they're 3-0 with 2 road wins. They won at NC State and at Syracuse. They're good. You know, now this league, I think, is going to beat each other up a lot. I think there's going to be some results, you know, Virginia Tech at BC, for example, that kind of make you scratch your head. But this team can shoot, they can rebound, and as you just pointed out, Doug, I think Jeff Capel's done a nice job with his team defensively this year.
Number 3, Greg Elliott for North Carolina.
Pitt has to get the ball in. Just barely do, but they turn it over. Nelly Cummings lost the basketball, so Carolina's still alive.
Back for North Carolina, 24 for Pitt, 33, Federico.
Federico replaces Elliott for defense. Now it's Leaky Black's turn to try and inbound the basketball. He gets it in underneath, wide open, the freshman Tyler Nickel with 2.8 to go. Carolina calls timeout.
And a nice job, because that's an awkward place to inbound the basketball that deep on the sideline. And just enough time. Good patience by Black. He didn't panic. Enough time for Tyler Nickel to squirt loose. There is still a lot of basketball to be played.
And so now Hubert Davis's club, which just forced the turnover. If they don't get another turnover immediately on the inbound, they got to give the foul.
Got to give the foul. But the nice thing they did on the last turnover is they forced Nelly Cummings towards the sideline. If you're Pitt, you've got to catch it in a better area. And then again, he is the inbounder. It's the most important position on the floor at this point in a game like this. The inbounder and then catching it strong. You've got to catch it strong.
And if I'm Pittsburgh, I trust Cummings again. He has this year handled the basketball extremely well. Not prone to turning it over. They're now going to have him inbound the basketball.
And he can run the baseline.
Into Hinson, it's knocked out of bounds. And they're going to review this, of course.
He called it Carolina, though, didn't he?
He did.
I mean, this is a great play by R.J. Davis. They're trying to use the size, obviously, of Hinson.
Again, the call on the floor is Carolina basketball, which is big because of Bert Smith, who is there leading the officials at the video replay, doesn't see conclusive evidence to the contrary. It's going to be Carolina ball.
It's amazing. We're in this spot because of that throwaway bank-in three. And then you have a turnover from Pitt, a well-executed side out of bounds, and then a terrific defensive play by R.J. Davis.
End of game situations win and lose a lot of basketball games.
The anatomy of a loss. There's a lot of ways to lose games.
And again, improbably, Pittsburgh, playing from behind all afternoon, has not shot the basketball well from the three-point line. But they hung around and were and are in position to win, but it's not over yet. Still waiting for the verdict. Now they're going to adjust the clock. Trimble checks back in for North Carolina. And again, the call on the floor at the time was that it was Carolina ball off of the defensive play by R.J. Davis. And if it stands, the Tar Heels will have a chance for the win, improbably.
I don't want to go to press with this yet, but the official just said it's going to be Pitt ball. So I haven't seen a... I mean, the official who made the call for Carolina was the baseline official, who's over there at the monitor right now.
And indeed, there was the signal giving the basketball to Pittsburgh, and they will adjust the clock down to 1.8. So now, again, if you're Pittsburgh, can you get the ball in?
Yeah. Well, you got to have a better play than the last one you ran.
And now timeout called by Pittsburgh. And at this point, if you're Pitt, if you don't see somebody open, to me, just throw the ball to the other end of the court.
Yeah.
So that somebody can touch it.
Yeah. My thing on that is if you have a guy who's got an angle on that play, because again, I mean, so many things can happen. I'd much rather catch it in a catching area, and you should be able to have guards who can get open to do that and let them foul you to try to go up 2 possessions.
Well, again, this is the first of a triple header of ACC basketball here on ACC Network. We've got Miami and Notre Dame coming up next, and we'll get you to the Joyce Center just as soon as we get done here at the Peterson Event Center. We've got more out of this game than we could have hoped for.
This has been fun. This has been fun. This will be a side out of bounds, by the way, Doug, for Pitt, which, again, can be a little bit awkward in the full court, inbounding the ball.
But again, for me, if you're Pittsburgh, if you throw it to the backcourt, not that you want to do that, but it beats taking a 5-second.
It sure does.
A lot of worse things can happen if you keep it in the front court than throw it in the backcourt with under 2 seconds to go.
And that's where the inbounder, again, is the most important player on the floor in these situations. And you do have a timeout if you're Pitt.
And again, that's as long as somebody can touch the basketball. You don't want to throw it into the backcourt and have it go out of bounds and nobody touch it, because then it would come back to the inbound spot, and that would play perfectly into Carolina's hands. So the responsibility goes to Blake Hinson to inbound the basketball with Armando Bacot defending.
Got that size on the inbounder.
Looking, passes in, and the time expires. Well, it took some doing at the end, but Pittsburgh takes down number 25 North Carolina. The Panthers are 3-0 in league play.
Yeah, what a start. What a start. 2 straight two-point wins for Pitt. Syracuse before the break, Carolina right after.
Pittsburgh has now won 9 of 10 with a 76-74 win. Let's now go to the Joyce Center.
What a great finish between Pittsburgh and North Carolina. Our ACC Network triple header continues here in South Bend. Malcolm Huckabee, Jay Alter with you. Miami leading Notre Dame 11-7. The Hurricanes up to their highest ranking since 2017. They've won 8 straight, and they're playing with a lot of confidence right now.
They are, and they have one of the better players in basketball that we're going to see after this break as well, too. Miami up early, 11-7 on Notre Dame.